Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. Kerry Stevenson here, talking with Andrew Vigar. He's the executive chairman of T92, is the ASX code, Terra Uranium. And if you're wanting to know, 92 is the what do you call it? The code?
It's atomic number for uranium.
The atomic number for uranium. You see, you've always got to have the experts when you're chatting about these sorts of things. Well, Andrew, welcome to Small Caps. Great to see you. Now, Terra Uranium is listing in September 2022, and I understand massively oversubscribed. But before we get into that, just give us a brief overview of who is Terra Uranium. This is the first time you and I have had a chat.
Yeah, so Terra Uranium is a group of professional geologists who've had extensive experience in uranium. Some of us more than 20 years. We were looking for projects around the world. We got together, we started targeting the Athabasca and formed the company about a year ago. I think it was June last year. We started looking at some smaller projects. As the team came together, we focused more and more on the very large projects, which we think is where the real upside is. Put the company together in Australia, formed a Canadian subsidiary, pulled the team together, and we've done all that in a year, which is pretty happy with that.
Well, for those that don't know, the Athabasca Basin is in Canada, and it is, I think it's the highest or the second highest grade uranium. It's where Cigar Lake is as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. It contains the richest, not only the largest, but the richest deposits in the world. And the surprising thing is that when you look at some of the grades, you sort of shake your head. You know, the core of Cigar Lake is running 45% uranium, which means that basically half the rock of the core of the deposit is uranium. And that's just incredible. I mean, you see it in spots and things in other parts of the world, but there's nowhere like the Athabasca. It has a really unique geological situation there, and that's what really attracted us to it.
All right, so tell us about, first of all, how did you get your hands on Athabasca? I've spoken about it in the past. It is a great jurisdiction, but how did you get your hands on it? I think you've got 3 projects up there, is that correct?
Yeah, we've got 3 projects in the deep part of the Athabasca. I guess it came really out of the team. So as myself, Daryl Clark, Troy and Doug, we're all been in the uranium industry a long time. Daryl, Troy and Doug are based in Canada, in either Alberta or Saskatoon, which is right where the deposits are. They have a long history in the area. We started to put together a prospectivity analysis, which is a technical tool for evaluating the quality of various projects. We started on a global basis, but pretty quickly came down to either ISRs or the high-grade Athabasca deposits. And then we started...
Sorry to interrupt you. For those that don't know, an ISR is?
In situ recovery.
And what does that mean?
Well, look, it's a really interesting topic, and we probably only got 20 or 30 minutes today, and I'd bore everybody if I went into the detail. But I believe that it started pretty much in uranium, because uranium is an incredibly soluble element. So it moves around quite easily with the right redox conditions. And all the shallow, what we call roll front style deposits are all in situ recovery. That involves just drilling a drill hole, putting a solution down, dissolving the uranium, and pumping it out again. So there's no, the mine just looks like a little bore field in your backyard. There's no surface disturbance. There's no environmental impact. It's really interesting technology, and it's developing very, very rapidly. And in fact, is now starting to move into base metals as well. So that people starting to recover copper with the same method. And a very recent development in the Athabasca is that the Cigar Lake deposit is looked at being mined, or at least part of it being mined, with what we call solution mining or in situ recovery of hard rock. So we're moving out of sediment-hosted deposits into hard rock deposits. I really believe this is a big thing for the future, and all the investors and people should keep an eye on it, because from an environmental point of view, environmental and social point of view, very, very little impact on the environment. So it's definitely going to be a big thing for the future.
So is that part of the reason that you like the Athabasca, that there is the potential to do ISR there, or?
Very much. I mean, the Millennium deposit, which is being developed right now by Denison, they're one of the big 3 in the Athabasca. is going to be mined by solution mining. And we're looking for very large deposits under cover. So we're looking deeper in the basin. Straight away you say, oh, deep, that means difficult mining, it's hot, it's, how are we going to get down there? Solution's very simple. You don't go down there. You just drill a drill hole, dissolve the metals, pump them out.
All right, let's take a step back for a moment and talk about the projects that you've got, how you got them, and why you like them so much. Because you mentioned they're deep in the basin. Why is that important?
Yeah, so when we looked at the styles of the deposits, and these are the Athabasca style, although there are some in the Northern Territory as well in Australia. They either occur in the basement just under a major unconformity. There's a sedimentary unit sitting over the top of them, which is a cap. It's very important to have that. And then the fluids come up through the basement, through fractures, and are deposited at the interface. We either have basement-style deposits sitting in the basement. We have them at the unconformity or just above the unconformity. When you look at the styles of deposits, by far the largest and highest grades are the ones at the unconformity or just above it. And in order to have those intact, we have to be deeper in the basin. It's our view that we have to be a little bit deeper. The examples we're using, and people can look these up, the McArthur River deposit or the Cigar Lake deposit. Both of those sit at the unconformity or just above it, and they are a little bit deeper in the basin. So that's where we went looking for major deposits, the big ones.
How much work have you done to understand what you've got your hands on to date?
Well, we've done quite a lot. So when we went looking, we sort of started originally looking at joint ventures and farming in other people's ground. But then when we started looking at the major deposits and where we might find them, we found that the Cable Bay Shear Zone, which is the next parallel structure a little bit further to the west and deeper in the basin, we could actually pick up our own ground, which was vacant. There'd been discoveries and work done showing there was uranium in the system in the 1980s. So we had a big boom in uranium in the 70s and the 80s. And then the world changed. The USSR fell apart. There was an awful lot of weapons-grade uranium come onto the market. The price dropped, and this deeper style exploration started to dry up. But at the same time, in the last 5-10 years, we've had these advances in solution mining and the ability to extract at depths using drill holes rather than access mining. So I think all these things have come together to reactivate interest in some of these areas that could potentially contain extremely large deposits.
Sorry.
Yeah, and we see signs at the surface. So we see geophysical signatures. We see a little bit of uranium at the surface. We're quite confident that this area is one of the best around.
Cable Bay Shear Zone, how big is it? Anyone else working on it? And you said that nothing's been done since the 80s. How did you get your? In other words, why didn't someone else pick up this ground before you?
Everybody's looking at shallower things that are easier to find. But as we said earlier, the shallower ones, they're not quite as big. Our is the largest and the best, which is NextGen, also Australian guys, I might point out, very successful. But that's outside the basin, so it was shallow, and the grade's only around 2%. We're looking at things more like in the 10 or 20%, whole order of magnitude higher grade. When we started going through the archives, and that's where we managed to attract Mike McClelland as our President Canada. He for the last 10 years he's been with Cameco running support for all their exploration programs in the Eastern Athabasca. He knows every drill hole, every outcrop, every sample. And we started, and these are in the public domain, and we're pulling out old records showing significant uranium results in the Cable Bay Shear Zone. So we said, well, that's an interesting area. Let's go and have a look there. And then we got the geophysics. We accessed the raw data, reprocessed it. Although it's old data, it's not terribly reliable, but there is something going on in there.
There's something going on.
Yeah. So we're in there, boots and all, and we're going to have a go at it.
I think it's important to point out to everybody as well, as I'm talking to Andrew today, they're listing in September, but you were very heavily oversubscribed. Why is such great interest in what you're doing? I mean, it sounds interesting, but quite often these new listings, they take a little bit, but you literally were swamped with interest.
We were. I think it's the quality of the team that we've got, the way we've processed the data, and that we know the business. We opened as per our prospectus, which is out there from, we lodged on the 27th of July. We opened on the 4th of August. We essentially closed on the 4th of August because we were absolutely getting swamped, Gary. It was getting embarrassing, really, because we were trying to promise people stock, but we're getting towards 7-8 times oversubscribed on the first day.
Well, I never got a phone call from you, Andrew.
And I know a lot of people out there will be watching this today saying exactly the same thing, and it's because we just had so much interest. We are speculative. Who knows if we're going to find something, but if we do, it's going to be major. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big world-class discovery. We know what they look like. We've done them before. We've got a team who know world-class deposits. So we think we're in there with a very good chance. You get the enthusiasm. People, it's only a little company. I mean, we've got 50 million shares on issue.
Yeah.
Or we will have when we list, which is not very many.
No, that's great. So, and what's the capital structure like? Have you got any big boys behind you, or?
I think the largest shareholder, aside from ourselves as promoters, is about 5%. So,
okay.
It's very tight.
Yeah.
The board and the people involved in putting the company together will hold about 10-15%. I know it's more like 15%.
Okay.
And then I'd say the next largest shareholder is 5%. So it's going to be very, very tight. And of course, no one's going to be selling. So it's going to be interesting. We're quite excited. We're due to close the offer today. The 25th of August, we're doing this interview. And that's the official close date. We'll be issuing the shares next week. We're due to list on the 7th of September. Hopefully, in hindsight, when people see this interview, that will have happened. But I just got off the phone with the lawyers and they can see no issues at this stage. So we should be on track.
Okay, well, you're pretty excited about it yourself. You talk to us about your experience in the sector and why you're so excited about what you've got your hands on. I kind of want to understand why you think that there's the potential for a major discovery in this area.
Yeah, we really do. I guess when we were looking around the world, you've really got to be looking at deposits that are capable of an operating cost of around $20 to $30 US a pound.
Okay.
I know the current price is just under 50, and we're quite confident we'll stay there, especially now that the US Congress have realised that the US, or North America, they include Canada, is very short on production because of the war in Europe. And Congress has now underwritten North American production at $50 a pound.
Hang on a second. So are you saying to me that the US government, if the price of uranium dropped to $10, they're going to underwrite the difference between the 10 and the 50? So
from North America.
If you're in North America. So
if you're in North America.
If you're T92 and you're in the Athabasca Basin.
Yes, that includes us.
Yeah.
There is some talk about including Australia as well, but it's not at this stage. It's basically it's considered a critical mineral. So they realise that we see it being a uranium as in nuclear power generation being something of the order of 15 to 20% of the global power source, especially as it doesn't produce any carbon. Therefore, if you're going to decarbonise your energy sources, it's not going to be massive, but 15 to 20% is what they're already doing in Canada, the US, UK. Surprising, a lot of people don't realise the UK is 15% nuclear. France is more like 70%.
Yeah,
France. They're miles ahead of everywhere else. Yep. The Japanese are bringing their reactors back on stream as quickly as they can. Germany's even saying they're not going to shut theirs down, which they were going to.
That's a big change.
The EU is now classed nuclear as a green energy source, officially.
Yep.
That's a big impact, Kerry, because that means if you're financing a power station or a development, you can now source financing from the same groups as wind, solar, hydro.
It's a big change.
Big change. It's very, very favourable terms. So things are really developing that area. So we see it as being a large part of the mix. That's why the US Congress passed this bill. It's simply that they need supply, and they need supply of the raw material, which is uranium, locally. But it has had the effect, and of course the Sprott Fund coming in, which everybody would know about, that to some extent has also underwritten the price. So the two of those things in tandem, we can't. For the last couple of months, the price has been trying to fall, but it's never got below 45, and it's sitting at 49 today at the end of August. So we see that as a pretty stable number. So we were looking for mines that can be operated very profitably at those sort of prices. And the Athabasca, Canada, great place to go.
Three area, I guess, three projects. You've got Hawk Rock,
yes,
Parker Lane, and Park Lake, sorry, and Passfield Lake. So which one's first? Which one do you like, or are they all your favourite children?
Exactly what I was going to say, Kerry. We've chosen them for different reasons, and they all have pluses and minuses. Hawk Rock is the shallowest, so will be the cheapest to test. Has never been flown for geophysics before. And because we're looking deeper, geophysics is one of our main exploration tools, along with surface geochemistry. We're looking for leakage out of the deposits. Hawk Rock has some nice signs about it, never been flown for geophysics. We'll talk a little bit later about the geophysical method, but we're using a system called ZTEM, which is the best for this style of deposit. Very hard to get the equipment, but we have it already booked, and we will be flying the week after we list, which is pretty amazing. And that will really test Hawk Rock, which has never been flown before. Passfield, we do have some old geophysics there, which is showing good conductors, but it was a VTEM, which is shallower. We'd like to test them with the deeper system. ZTEM can go down a kilometre, 1,000 metres.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see them if they're there. We have some old ZTEM stuff. Passfield is really interesting because there's some really interesting geophysics and geological things going on. It's very complicated. For your investor people, more complicated the better. Simple doesn't cut it.
Why is complicated good?
More things going on. You need to disrupt things. You need to disrupt the basement rocks. That creates fluid pathways. The fluids can come in and make a deposit. If things are flat and boring, nothing going on, nothing to see here. You need something that's complicated. Passfield is very complicated. So we're getting very excited about Passfield. Parker is interesting because it has some old, very, very old geophysics, which shows a very major anomaly, but it's deeper and there's very little sign of anything at surface. So it's probably the third string in our bow, but we will fly it along with all the others in September. And then we will process the results October, November. Very data heavy stuff. It takes a lot of computing power to process it and tie it in with the. We're also doing some interestingly Australian-based geophysics. It's how do you describe it? It's a type of seismic.
Okay.
Passive seismic method to try and map the shape of the basement. The shape of the basement is critical. We'll put those two together, process them. We'll be drilling in the winter. Up there, you need it to freeze. It's very cold, -20 to -40 in the winter. No, you don't go around. You don't go running around in your undies. It's very cold. But we wait for it to freeze, and then we get good access. You actually drive across the frozen lakes. So we'll be drilling in the winter, and we'll be hitting it pretty hard as soon as we can get in there.
I hope you give you guys some good warm gear to wear. -20.
Up to -40 in the middle of winter.
Oh no, thank you. All right, so talk to us about you're going to do the geophysics, but you said was it ZTEM?
It's called ZTEM, yes. It's run by a company called Geotech. They're a Canadian company. It's specific for this type of deposit. We're looking for carbonaceous material in the basement. Very high and large deposits will actually pick themselves up, but they have to be really big. But it's mainly the carbonaceous material in the basement. Carbon's a very good conductor. So it's an electrical method. It's flying with a helicopter, and you fly it in the summer. So that's the best time to fly it.
Andrew, I just want to talk to you because we were speaking off camera before about the board and how you've all got a lot of experience in the uranium sector.
Mm.
How did you all come together, and why did you decide to give this one a shot?
It's an interesting story. Daryl Clark and I have known each other for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. And we've been involved in various projects over the years. And Daryl had moved to Canada, and he's in Alberta at the moment, which is the next province over. And we're all watching what's happening with the uranium space. I'd had quite a lot of success with Alligator Energy, which I was one of the founders of 10 years ago. And we thought, oh, well, let's look at something in Canada. And then gradually it all came together. Troy and Doug came on initially. They're based in Saskatoon. We put the field team together, headed by Mike and Jennifer Burgess. Jennifer was involved in the diamonds in the Arctic, so she knows cold, difficult conditions. And then, as I said, we did a prospectivity analysis. We started targeting projects. We wanted really big targets, and then all of a sudden these targets. So it grew organically is probably the best way to describe it, Kerry.
Okay.
And we all funded it out of our own pockets at the start. So we're all in there, all escrow for 2 years, but we're quite passionate about it, and we all came together as a group, basically.
Well, I think it's important that people understand that, the people that are running Terra Uranium, not only have they got skin in the game, but they've got a lot of experience in this particular area. We're running out of time at the moment. So talk to me about, I always say this to my interviewees, I want to know 3 reasons. You're listing hopefully 7th of September-ish.
Yes,
so people may be watching this after you've listed. So possibly. Why should they get excited about what you're doing?
Yeah, so we'll come on in early September. We're targeting world-class discoveries. So we're looking for major deposits. It's a very tight capital structure. We know what we're doing. We're very excited about the projects. And if we find something, or maybe I should say when we find something,
that's better.
It will be big. So we're chasing large deposits. So we want something that's going to have an impact, on a world scale, to supply the enormous need for uranium, which is out there, and we need it in our grids, power grids.
Well, I can tell that he's pretty excited about what he's put together, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Vigar is the executive chairman of Terra Uranium. Now, he did speak briefly about a slide deck, and it's really interesting. So if you want to have a look at that, go to the website, t92.com.au, and have a look at that, because there's a really good one. I think it's slide number 5, where it shows you just how much the uranium has come out from, I think it was Kazakhstan. Given what's happening in Russia and Ukraine at the moment, that's a supply that doesn't look like it's going to come back on anytime soon. So the boys have got their hands, and what he said, Andrew's just said, is not just a small discovery, a major discovery. So make sure you check them out. Well done, Andrew, on putting together such a fabulous project. Come back and talk to us again when you've started doing that geophysics.
We're delighted to, Kerry. Thank you for having me on today.